Welcome to Speak English Podcast with Rory and Alex.
Welcome to the deep dive. So, our sources today are tackling what is, I think, the single most common topic in language practice.
Yeah.
Your daily routine. But we aren't just here to, give you a list of verbs.
Exactly. Our mission today is to take all that B1, B2 level stuff about routines, the time markers, action verbs, those tricky prepositions, and really fuse it with some psychological insights. Specifically, James Clear's concept of habit stacking.
So we're moving beyond just saying, I woke up and I brushed my teeth.
Right. We want to make your daily story so precise, so vivid, and so consistent that fluency just becomes, well, automatic.
I like that. So we're essentially looking at the daily grind not as this boring repetition, but as the perfect training ground for complex language and even cognitive growth.
It's turning necessity into mastery. We're giving you the linguistic structure and then the behavioral strategy to make sure that practice actually sticks.
Okay, so where do we start?
Well, the core of it is giving you the ability to talk about when and where with absolute precision.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the whole narrative just stays basic.
Right. Okay, let's unpack that blueprint of the day then. Starting with time itself. It's way too easy to just rely on morning, afternoon, and night.
And our sources offer a much richer palette. To sound specific, you have to break down those big buckets. For the very start of the day, that transition period,
Right.
we have sunrise, which is when the sun appears, usually between 5 and 7 a.m. And then we also have dawn, which is often used interchangeably. It's just that first appearance of light.
And as the morning moves on, you hit mid-morning. I like this one. It's a conversational term, not an official time, but it's critical for context.
It is. If you say something happened mid-morning, it tells the listener it was roughly halfway between waking up and lunch. It gives the day shape.
Then we get to the really precise times.
Yes. Noon is exactly 12 p.m. It's the direct opposite of midnight at 12 a.m. And as the day winds down, just before it gets truly dark, we enter twilight or dusk.
And using those words instantly elevates your description. It's much better than just saying when it got dark.
It paints a picture.
That focus on timing is great, but let's be honest, the real pain point for intermediate learners is the prepositions. That preposition rulebook, they just feel so arbitrary.
They do feel arbitrary, but there is a logic there that we need to nail down. The key distinction we see everywhere in routines is the difference between at and in.
Okay, tell us why it matters. I know that as a learner, I always struggled with when to use at for time and then at for a location.
Think of that as pointing to a specific point. It can be a point in time, like at noon or at 7 a.m., or a point in space,
A general location.
a general location, or an activity. You're thinking about the purpose, not the boundaries. So you're at work or at school.
But then if you're actually contained within the walls, the boundaries of a building, that's when you switch to in.
Exactly. You're in the office, in the bathroom, or in the kitchen. And the sources highlight this beautiful conceptual difference that I think really helps lock it in.
What's that?
Home is an idea. It's a general life location, so you are at home. But a house is a physical building with boundaries.
So you are in my house.
Right. And that simple mental distinction is a great little memory device.
That provides a fantastic mental hook. Okay, so we've set the time and the location. Now we need the action. Let's start with the morning, where two verbs that seem identical have these crucial differences.
You're talking about wake up versus get up.
Exactly.
So wake up simply means your brain stops sleeping. You become conscious. But get up means you physically start moving your body and you leave the bed.
So you could wake up at 6 and not actually get up until 6:30.
We've all been there.
And once you finally get up, you need to get ready. That big umbrella term for showering, getting dressed, everything you need to do to face the day.
And for those of us who have to travel, that daily journey is called commuting. It doesn't matter if you go by public transportation, by bike, or by car. It's all commuting.
And that leads directly to this very common vocabulary of imperfection, I guess you'd call it.
I love that. Our listener source, Jade, mentioned her struggle with hitting the snooze button. Because of that, she often struggles to leave on time and finds herself behind schedule.
And that detail is so relatable. It's the exact kind of language we want you to practice. Don't just say, I was late.
Right. Say, I hit the snooze button 3 times, and now I'm entirely behind schedule. That's practice in action.
Okay, moving through the rest of the day. Noon is lunchtime.
You can eat lunch, or if you go to a restaurant, you can go out to eat or just eat out. And then the end of the workday is when you get off work or leave school.
And that social buffer between work and evening, that's happy hour, right? A key cultural term.
A very key cultural term, yeah.
Yeah.
A time after work, before dinner, when drinks are usually cheaper.
And finally, the evening routine. It centers around dinner, or I guess more formally, supper, and then you get ready for bed.
Which is the whole process. Washing your face, brushing your teeth, putting on pajamas. And if you're really organized, you might get things ready for the next day, setting an alarm, laying out your clothes.
That's a great setup. But if that routine is the stage, then section 2 gives us the props. And these are the essential ones, the heavyweight champion verb get and all those high-frequency B1 phrasal verbs.
The verb get is. It's just non-negotiable for fluency. It's so versatile. And mastering it is the single biggest difference between sounding like you're translating and sounding like a native speaker.
But wait a minute, we always come back to get. As a learner, I remember feeling so frustrated by how complex it is. Why bother memorizing all these different forms? Isn't it just easier and maybe more formal to use words like receive or obtain or become?
That's a fantastic point. And yes, it is simpler to use receive or obtain, but those words are often quite formal. They're not that common in daily conversation.
Ah.
Get is the workhorse of casual spoken English. If you want to talk about daily life, about transitions, getting things moving, you simply cannot avoid get. Its flexibility is what makes it so powerful. You just have to embrace the chaos.
Okay, I'm sold. Let's look at the 3 main ways we need to master it. First up, the simple action structure. Get plus verb.
Right. This often describes moving into a state or acquiring something. Think of what we just talked about. Get dressed, get ready, get out of bed. But it also covers things like get a job or get sleep. It's all about that transition.
And second is expressing change. Get plus adjective, where get means to become. This is so essential for talking about your emotional reactions during the day.
Absolutely. Think about how the day makes you feel. You get stressed, you get nervous, you get angry, maybe you get bored. We always recommend asking yourself, what would you like to get better at this week? That's the same structure.
And the third area is the more specialized uses. We see have got all the time.
Yeah, the casual alternative for have. For example, have you got any plans for the weekend? It's everywhere in spoken English.
And then there are 2 structures that are just critical for more advanced conversation.
First, get to do something, which means you have an opportunity or a privilege. We could ask, what fun things do bosses get to do that employees don't? Or, we got to see the old city before the snow started. It's about a special chance.
And my favorite structure, the one for life maintenance, is get something done. This means you arrange for someone else to perform a service for you.
That's right. You don't do it yourself. You get your car fixed, you get your teeth cleaned, you get your hair cut. You need to be able to move seamlessly between, I cut my hair, I did myself, and I got my hair cut. A hairdresser did it.
That's a huge one. Okay, now that we've tackled get, let's move to the other big tool, B1 phrasal verbs. These are often the biggest stumbling block, aren't they?
They are, because they're these combinations of simple words that take on complex, non-literal meanings. We can't just list them, we need to see them in context.
So let's look at a few high-frequency ones, starting with work or school.
Okay? If you had a busy week and missed a few things, you need to catch up on that missed work. You have to bring yourself up to date.
And if a tough situation or a difficult client comes up, you have to deal with it. But my personal struggle verb, the one I fight every single morning, is put off.
Put off. To delay something, to postpone. Like Jade hitting the snooze button. You might put off sending a difficult email until the afternoon. It's the verb of procrastination.
Exactly. I think I've been putting off practicing that one for about 3 months now. But if you do beat procrastination and finish a report, you then hand it in, you submit it.
And ideally during the day, you come up with a solution or a new idea. That means to generate or invent something. Just those 5 verbs. Catch up, deal with, put off, hand in, come up with. They basically define the professional workday.
Okay, let's pivot to home or errands. The vocabulary here is often more physical. For exercise, you work out.
And for those glorious non-routine days, you might sleep in on the weekend, meaning you wake up later than usual.
Yes, a personal favorite.
And the vocabulary for household chores is vital. We make up the bed, which is an idiom for tidying it. When you finish using something, you put it away. And if you use up all the coffee,
you run out of it. You need to be able to say, I need to go to the store, we've run out of milk.
Exactly. And for shopping, you try on clothes to test them.
Yeah.
If they don't fit, you take them back to the store for a refund. That covers the whole cycle.
Okay, our final group is social and free time.
Right. If you spend unstructured time with friends, you hang out. If you need to reconnect with an old colleague, you catch up with them sharing news and updates.
And at the end of a long day, you need to wind down, to relax, become calm. The opposite of that is if you have a big party planned and the weather is terrible.
You might have to call it off. You have to cancel it.
And finally, recovery.
Two big ones here. If you get the flu, you eventually get over it. This also applies to emotional things, like recovering from a bad breakup. And if you discover a new hobby you love, you get into it.
That is a powerful toolkit. This isn't just a list of words, it's the language you need to narrate your entire life. And that leads us perfectly into section 3, the psychology of how to make this stick.
Right. This is where we move from structure to strategy. The biggest challenge for any learner is consistency, and that is exactly what habit stacking is designed to fix.
Okay, so explain the mechanism behind James Clear's concept. Why is linking a new habit to an old one so powerful?
He uses a simple formula. When I do my current habit, I will do my new habit. You leverage a habit that's already completely ingrained, something you do automatically.
Like drinking your coffee.
Exactly. You use that as the trigger for your new language habit.
And the sources cite a 2025 study that found this approach increased success rates by a huge amount, something like 64%. Why so high?
Because it removes the element of when. You get rid of decision fatigue. Your brain doesn't have to decide when to practice. The old habit is the cue. The moment the coffee cup touches the table, the new habit just activates.
And the key is to start small.
So small it feels almost silly. That's what the sources stress.
Give us some language-specific examples. How would you stack this?
Sure. After drinking your morning coffee, write one sentence about your goals. Or, when I finish dinner, I will read for 5 minutes from a news article. 5 minutes feels like nothing, but you're training that neural pathway. Once it's automatic, then you can increase the time.
And the simplest way to apply this is the one-sentence journal. It's a brilliant fluency hack.
It really is. The cognitive benefits are massive. It clears your mind, it reduces stress. But for the language learner, it provides daily proof of progress. Knowing you have to write down one meaningful sentence actually motivates you to make at least one good choice that day. You want something good to record.
And that small daily repetition strengthens several key mental functions.
Absolutely. First, sustained attention. You have to notice small details in conversations or in your day if you're going to write about them. Second, it trains your working memory, that mental scratch pad you use to hold information while you're forming a sentence.
And third, it builds cognitive flexibility. Explain that one simply.
Cognitive flexibility is just your brain's ability to adapt when things change or when information is incomplete. In a conversation, it's being able to recover when you don't know a word. This kind of rhythmic practice provides a hidden calm. It's like mental yoga. It reduces stress and builds resilience for speaking imperfectly in public.
And once you have that consistency from habit stacking, you need to upgrade your style from just telling to actively showing your day. This is the difference between a bullet point and a painting.
Telling just states a fact. It's fine for small talk, but it stops a conversation cold. For example, Mia was sad. That's telling.
So how would you show it?
Showing uses action, sensory detail. It allows the listener to draw their own conclusion. So instead, you'd say, Mia stared out the window, her fingers tracing the rim of her coffee cup.
So instead of telling me my boss was angry, how would we show that moment?
You'd show the tension. Describe the evidence. Something like, the boss's office door slammed so hard the dust jumped off the picture frames. The emotional impact is completely different.
And this is where we apply that conversational rule. Always go deeper. Instead of the default small talk response, my morning was okay, you transition to a personal, vivid detail.
Exactly. So instead of being satisfied with, my commute was bad, use the phrasal verbs we just discussed. You could say, today I almost missed the bus because I was totally distracted. I had to sprint the last block trying not to run out of breath.
And that simple change moves the conversation instantly from small talk to a real personal connection. You're using descriptive language to create an emotional impact. That's what makes people listen.
And that willingness to use detail, to embrace being imperfect, is what cements the cognitive payoff.
Yeah.
You're actively practicing not being perfect, which is the single biggest stressor for adult learners.
So what does this all mean for you, the learner? We've covered the structure, the precision of time words, the logic of prepositions like at versus in, and mastering crucial verbs like get and all those phrasal verbs.
And we covered the strategy, leveraging habit stacking for daily practice and applying show, don't tell to turn a simple list of actions into an engaging story. This boosts your working memory, your attention, and your cognitive flexibility.
The ultimate takeaway here is that consistency always triumphs over intensity. You don't need a huge block of time to get fluent. You need the right tools and the right trigger. Your routine isn't just a boring schedule, it's the most reliable linguistic resource you have. This isn't just a routine, this is power.
So your challenge for the next 24 hours is this. The next time you talk or write about your daily routine, don't just tell the steps. Challenge yourself to show one specific moment of tension or joy or frustration. And use one of the be-one phrasal verbs we talked about today to do it. So instead of, I canceled my run, try, I was so tired this morning I had to call off my workout. This transforms your language practice from a memory drill into the vibrant narrative of your life. Go out and start stacking those habits.